Hi everybody, my name is Patricia, first generation Beatles fan. This channel is called Little Beatles Corner. Today's video is not going to be a Beatles subject per se, but rather a Beatles related video on the Searchers. Now before I do get started on that, I do want to stop real fast and thank everybody for watching my last video, which was an all-time high. Somehow it got kicked out into outer space, YouTube space, and I had way more viewers than I ever did. And also because of that, I got quite a few new subscribers. So I really thank everybody for watching that video. I thank everybody who recently subscribed, and of course the first generation subscribers. I do thank you as well, because you all are so important, and it makes the space really nice to be around. So thank you for coming and going. Thank you for commenting, and I really do appreciate you. All right, so as far as the Searchers go, I got interested in this to do a video because I did see them on YouTube do their last Glastonbury final farewell performance medley thing. And I actually did finally see a photo of Paul McCartney with those Searchers, the two more original Searchers at Glastonbury, which I was, happy to see. But anyway, when I looked to see which Searchers there were then, I came to find out there was one original Searchers from the first lineup, one from the second lineup, and then the third guy came along in 1986, and the fourth guy actually came along in 2023. So you can see that all of those people who performed as the Searchers at Glastonbury were, in my mind, not the real Searchers that we knew back in 1964. So just pointing that out. Anyway, so yeah, the Searchers were a Merseyside Liverpool band, and as most Liverpool kids did, they formed a skiffle group in 1959. So John McNally and Mike Pender, two of their original Searchers, did start that as a skiffle band. Now in 1960, two other fellas came along, and that was Tony Jackson, who was the bass player, and Chris Curtis, who was the drummer, and then they became the first full lineup of the Searchers that we know. Now, the Searchers got their name from a movie. I think it was a John Ford movie, 1956, I think it was, called The Searchers. They liked the name. I think John Wayne was in it, and they picked it up. And I think it's a pretty good name for a group, at least at the time I thought it was. So now, the Searchers are, 1960, they formed as a band. And actually, they only had a few years until the first person left the band, and which would become the second lineup. So in 1960 to 1964, Tony, the bass player, was part of the band. And he left in 1964 because he had some kind of, relationship problems with Chris Curtis, the drummer, and also because he wanted to play more rock and roll music rather than more softer rock that they were getting into with the more ballady kind of stuff. So 1964, Tony did leave. And to replace Tony, which becomes the second lineup, which is where I'm going to draw the line about talking about them, Miss Frank Allen joins the band. And actually Frank Allen stayed until 2025 Glastonbury. So in the end, you had John McNally and Frank Allen as the originals that were at Glastonbury. Now, Chris Curtis, the drummer, he was the second one to leave. So he was there from 1960 to 1966. So that was 2 years after Tony left. And then Mike Pender, who was one of the original skiffle group founders, he stayed from 1960 to 1985. So that was a long time for him. Now, the Searchers did play in Hamburg along with the other, Liverpool groups that were going over there. They played at the Star Club, and at one point they had a residency where they played 128 shows. So they did get a lot of practice like the other groups did. doing their stuff in Hamburg, and, so, which I thought was kind of interesting. Now, as far as the years that they were active as a band, they say 1959 when the skiffle group started, up until 2019 the Searchers officially disbanded. And then 2023 to 2025, which was the Glastonbury now, they reunited as a band. So in between 2019 and 2023, they might have done an odd show or a charity show or something, but for the most part, they really weren't doing anything. So, in their heyday, of course, was the early 60s, probably up to 1966 is where they had most of their hits. Now, two of the original Searchers from the first lineup are not here anymore. Tony Jackson died in 2003, and Chris Curtis, the drummer, died in 2005. Mike Pender's still alive, John McNally's still alive, and Frank Allen's still alive. Now, it was interesting to see that as far as the record label that they were on a lot of different labels, and I don't know whether some of these labels were related so they could go back and forth between the labels to record, or whether they got canned and had to get another record contract. I don't really know. So in the United States, they were on the Mercury label, Liberty label, CAP, K-A-P-P label, RCA, and Sire. In the United Kingdom, they were on a lot of labels too, which was Pye, P-Y-E, Philips, Liberty, RCA, and Sire. So, like I said, I really don't know how that all transpired. Now, they did, one other thing about this Tony Jackson before I finish this. Apparently, I think it was like sometime in the 1980s, there was a legal dispute that he initiated toward the other Searchers, and it had to do with songwriting credits or whatever. So I don't know what became of that, but it was a legal matter. And it kind of showed me that Tony Jackson still was disenchanted, of course, way later in life, long after leaving the Searchers. So I kind of thought that was an interesting tidbit to know. Now, they did 9 studio albums, and some of the titles were different in the United States than they were in the UK, as like the Beatles albums were. And they did EPs and they did singles. Now, as far as the United States goes, they actually never had a number 1 record single in the United States, which blew me away because I would have thought they would have had several pretty close up there. The closest they got was number 3 on the American charts for Love Potion number 9 song. Now, in the United Kingdom, of course, they did a little bit better. They had 3 number 1 singles, and that was Needles and Pins, Sweets for My Sweets, and Don't Throw Your Love Away. So, and the first single that Frank Allen sang on was When You Walk in the Room, and that would have been like August or September 1964 when he joined the band. So, all right. So, as I say, there's many other lineups, but to me they're not important because, they're not who the real Searchers were at the time. Now I'm going to show you what I have in terms of CDs first, and I'll try to go through them as quickly as I can. This one is a 1987 Germany CD. It's called Take Me for What I'm Worth. It's on the PRT label. Then I have the Searchers, the Sire sessions, recordings from 1979 to 1980. This is from Australia. So this is a later lineup. This has Billy Adamson, who was a Searcher at that point on there, plus somebody else I don't know. No, probably that was it, Billy Adamson. The rest are Frank Allen, Mike Pender, and I lost my train of thought of who. Anyway, that's that. And then this one I really like. This is the Searchers German, French, and Rare Recordings. This is put out in 1990. I think this is a UK thing. on the pie label. The Searchers did some recordings in other languages like the Beatles did, which was probably a pretty popular thing at the time since they were in Hamburg. Now, the last CD I bought recently is called Searchers, the EP collection. This is from the United Kingdom. It's got a nice little paper cover on it. So if you're a Searchers fan, I would probably say this is a good one to get. It's got all the EP work that they did. And it's a BGO Records, and it's nothing to write home about, it's just a black CD. So those are my CDs in my collection at this point in time. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you my 45s. These are all American pressings. Most of them are on the Cap, K-A-P-P label, which I believe was their first label here. This is He's Got No Love and So Far Away. I paid $1.50 for this way back when. Had a record store. Used to be a great record store I used to go to that, of course, is long closed, unfortunately, but I got a lot of good stuff from there. I do. I have fond memories of that. And here's another Cap. This one's in, not the greatest condition. What Have They Done to the Rain and This Feeling Inside. It's got a piece of tape with somebody's name on there. Then I have a reissue on a label called Eric, and they put 2 hits on both sides. Love Potion number 9 and Needles and Pins, and this is pristine condition. I don't know how old this reissue is, but that's a pretty good idea, of course, to put 2 hits on 145. Talk about value for money, right? Then I have a Mercury label, and I paid $8 for this, whenever that was. And it says, I Can Tell, and Ain't That Just Like Me. This is a very nice record, like pristine record. Now I have another Cap 45, and I paid at that record store that's long gone $2 for it. He's Got No Love and So Far Away. And actually this one came with the original Cap outer sleeve, so I do have one actual Cap outer sleeve, which I'm happy to have. Now let's see, this one is, I think that's the same. No, I don't know if it's the same or not. What Have They Done to the Rain is on this one, is Cap, and This Feeling Inside. This one's in pretty nice shape too. Now the last one I'm going to show you is a Cap white label, so maybe this is promotional, and it's got a star on there, so probably it is. And this says, Take Me for What I'm Worth and Too Many Miles on the other side. So that's my 45 collection at this moment. This moment in time, of course, that can change any day of the week. Now the next thing I'm going to go through is the vinyl records that I own. And I'm not going to go in any particular order because I really don't know what the order is. So this first one I'm going to show you is called The Golden Hour of the Searchers on the Golden Hour record label, which is United Kingdom. So maybe this is a probably a low budget kind of record. And here's the label. Nicer label, black and yellow. I'm thinking it's a low budget kind of record compilation, you know. So that was put out in 1972 in the United Kingdom. This next one is, I paid $10 for it at that record store that's long gone, whenever that, it was a long time ago. And it's a Mercury record, I think it's mono, and it's a Star Club, you know, like a live kind of thing. The Liverpool sound, the most playable sound around. And so here's the outer sleeve of that. I got their artist of the day. And then on this side is all the different turntables you could get, which is kind of interesting. And then here's the record on the Mercury label. That's a beautiful record. So this is 1964, it says, and I think this is from New Zealand, I'm pretty sure. And how I would wind up with a New Zealand record, of course, I don't have any idea about that, but it is a nice record. So moving on, I've got a 2-record set that I paid $6.50 way back when at the record store. That's no longer here. This is a Pi Records 1977 compilation in mono from the United Kingdom. And I will just show you one of the inner sleeves are like kind of thick cardboard, which is kind of nice. So one side has Tony Jackson on there, and the other side they have Frank Allen on there, so that's kind of interesting. I need to put this in a regular plastic poly sleeve. So there's the Pi label. So I've got 2 records in this set, and here's the other outer sleeve. It is a little different. The same thick cardboard. So it's kind of nice, and being mono too. And the back of the outer sleeve looks like this. So there you go for that. That was a good deal. $6.50 for 2 mono records, whenever that was. I wish we could get them all like that, right? This one is a later album, around 1990, on the Sire label. This is one of the later Searcher records, although probably late 80s or something. And here's the Sire label. I paid $2.50 for this. I see the sticker on this record, which I'll show you. So that was a bargain, right? I was surprised looking through these records, because I hadn't really looked at them in ages, that I don't have more American pressing. So that might be something to look at for a few of the Searchers, United States early Searchers records, you know. This one I paid $10 for. This has the Frank on there. This is a U.S. mono copy. This is the only U.S. copy I think I really have. 1965. Everybody Clap Your Hands, Magic Potion, Bumblebee. A lot of good songs on here. What Have They Done to the Rain? You Want to Make Her Happy. And then here's the inner sleeve that goes with it. They have the Searchers. They have some Searcher stuff on here, up here. And then here's the record itself. It was a nice record. Same on the other side. Pristine condition. That's the way I like it. I think I will look for a couple U.S. early Searchers albums now that I'm into this today. All right, let me put this back before I mess it up. And then I have a couple more, 3 more. So I have the Searchers' Greatest Hits, 1985 Rhino Records. Here's the outer. It's got Frank Allen on here rather than Tony. And it came in an interesting kind of plastic bag kind of thing, where it's got their discography of Rhino Records, what they have out or what they're doing, and then the releases. And here's the album on the Rhino label. I don't know if this Rhino label is the same now as it was then. Kind of like this plastic bag kind of thing. That's different. This was 1985, Rhino Records 1985. All right, so I have 2 more records left. And this one is a compilation put out in 1987, and these are songs from 1963 to 1967. And this was actually produced by Tony Hatch, who was, I think, the first Searchers manager. They went through several. So this is on, it's called The Searchers Play the System. Very flimsy UK cover. There's Tony on here and Tony on here. And here's the inner sleeve. It's got Petula Clark, The Kinks, Donovan. And on this side, it's got this, you know, the Searcher stuff right up the top. And this is on a PRT label. And that's it. Last but not least, I do have one more to show you. Try to kind of keep these together to put them away without taking too much time. So the last one I'm going to show you is on the Marble Arch label. And I don't know if this would be a bootleg or not. Very thin, UK. So the Marble Arch is in London, so I know it's UK. Smash Hits Volume 2, and actually this is a flip back. So I think that's pretty nice to have one flip back Searchers album. I paid I don't know, it was $7 or £7 for this. I have no idea at the time. So I don't know if this is a bootleg or a bona fide record label. So United Kingdom people, if you come across this video and you know, I would really appreciate it. So that's that. Of course, the other side's the same. So those are my vinyl Searchers collection as of today. Now, the last couple things I'm going to show you are more in the memorabilia range. So we'll conclude with that. So the first thing I'm going to show you, this is a 1964 Cavern Club card. And at one time, Bob Wooler was selling these with his autograph in them, and that's his autograph right there. Now, I took this back and forth to the Fest for Beatles fans and whatever over the years. So in this, I I don't remember any of the searchers being there, although that could be true. I don't know. But I do have Frank Allen right there, the searchers. So besides Bob Wooler, there's Sam Leach on that page. I have an Undertaker's autograph. I've got Billy J. Kramer. I've got, I don't know, a lot of people. Astrid Kircher, Pauline Sutcliffe, Jerry Marsden, Pete Best, Frida Kelly. So it's a kind of nice little thing, one-off kind of memorabilia to have. Now, the next thing I'm going to show you is a handbill, and this is a Friday, August 16th, 1963, Tower Ballroom, New Brighton, and the searchers are the headliners, so you can see that there. And then if you look a little bit lower, you'll see the Mersey beat Bill Harry, the Mersey beat newspaper guy, was the person who introduced the group, so he's listed there, which is kind of nice. So I got this from Trax a long time ago. I don't know how much I paid for it at that point, at this point in my life. And then I have a 1966 Searchers handbill, which of course would be different lineup. So here's the Searchers are headlining there. May 14th, 1966, and you can see Bob Wooler is the compere, or the person who introduces the groups. So those are my two handbills, and the final thing I'm going to show you today is an autograph on a, it's from an autograph book at the time. And this is the original Searchers, which is the original lineup with Tony in it. So Tony Jackson is there along the side. And then there's, you know, Chris Curtis, Mike Pender, and John McNally. And I got this from Trax too, a long time ago. Now, when you buy Searchers autographs, getting Tony Jackson is more difficult than getting Frank Allen. So this is kind of like one of the prizes that I consider kind of important in my collection. All right, so that's the Searcher story for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you come back and visit and comment and give me some information on some of those labels. That would be great. Keep thinking good thoughts about Beatle Brad, and wishing him well, and I continue to do that, and hope you all do too. And of course, Beatles forever.